there, I am Carol Olson and I am the developer of the Fine Line Quilters Continuous Curve Ruler. We have in the line of Fine Line tools and templates the Fine Line Straight Ruler and the Fine Line Continuous Curve Rulers, as well as a template set which consists of half circles and a half ellipse. This video demonstration is going to focus on the use of the Fine Line Continuous Curve Ruler, and I wanted to point out some of the features that are in the Fine Line Continuous Curve Ruler that are a bit different than those used in the Fine Line Straight Ruler. The finger grips are exactly the same as the Fine Line Straight Ruler. They keep your fingers out and away from the hopping foot and put the control back into your fingers, with that ruler being able to manipulate it in any direction that you need to go, as well as taking pressure off the base of that ruler on your quilt top, which can cause some stitch inconsistencies. The concave and convex ruler edges are exactly the same radius. So if you are doing all of your passes from on the concave side and you turn the ruler around to do your passes for the concave side of the ruler, your consistency is going to be there. You're not going to have to do any math to figure out what point your ruler needs to be in order for your stitching passes to be equal, even, consistent, and accurate. The Fine Line Continuous Curve Ruler also has increment scored lines that are in the base of the ruler. They are a 1/4 inch width dimensions, so from needle down to the edge of the ruler base would give you your first stitch pass, and if you continued to do that, lining your edge up with that last stitch pass, you would have a consistent 1/4 inch width as you went about your area that you're quilting. The first scored line is a 1/4 inch in the base, giving you a 1/2 inch. The second one for 3/4 inch, and the third one for a full inch of width distance in your quilting pattern. The same goes for the concave side. There are also reference lines that have been laser scored into the base of the ruler. They go from center width, center length, and the 45 degrees, so that no matter which angle you're using your curved ruler to do continuous curve or curved cross hatching, you are going to be able to maintain that radius consistency. Now, I have marked my quilt top, chalked as if I were going to do a border with curved cross hatching, and so I'm going to take you over and talk a little bit about how I set up my chalked lines in order to do my curved cross hatching, and then I'm going to show you how the ruler works on those reference lines, and then we're going to do some stitch passes and show you how that curved cross hatching is completed. So here I have my 5-inch border. It's all mapped out and ready to go. The design element that I'm going to do in this particular border really makes a nice embellishment in wider borders along your quilt. It also puts a full quilting design element throughout the entire width of that border, so your quilt's going to hang a lot straighter and it's going to look very, very nice. What I'm going to do, as you can see, I have with my chalk wheel, I have chalked out my triangles for my design element. I am going to do piano keys in the triangles coming down, and I'm going to do curved cross hatching with 1 inch width of distance in the triangles going in the upward direction, so they would just be offsetting each other. What I've also done, and especially for my curved cross hatching, I don't mark reference dots for my distance width like I would for normal straight cross hatching. I just draw my element that I'm going to be curve cross hatching in, and I'll show you here in a minute how I actually, after I do each stitch pass, where and how I like to line up my needle to be consistent in my width stitch passes for that curved cross hatching. But when you're setting up something like this to do curved cross hatching, you also need to take your chalk wheel and draw your center vertical within your triangle and your center width within your triangle. And using the reference lines that I pointed out earlier from the center width and center length on your continuous curve ruler, lined up with the vertical and the horizontal lines for the concave passes and the convex passes, are going to keep your stitch width perfectly consistent on your radius. So let's do some stitching. I've gone ahead and stitched out in a horizontal direction my curved passes at 1 inch width distance with my curved ruler. And when I get done with stitching all of my triangles with my curved cross hatching, then I go back and I will take my straight line ruler and I will actually outline all of my triangles all the way down the length of my border. Then I will come back and I will start with my beadboard. Now, if this were the edge of your quilt, you're going to come right off the edge of your quilt so that you're going to be able to do your beadboard in a continuous pass. So I will come down with my first line of stitching, backtrack a few stitches over the triangle stitch, back on out, over, down, backtrack a couple of stitches, on, back up, out, and so on and so forth, all the way through the length of my border. This gives me the ability to do my continuous stitching all the way through across that top, in and out, in and out, in and out. So now I'm going to go over to my next triangle motif so that I can show you how I line up my ruler using my center and my vertical reference lines, and how to line up with the incremental widths that are on your ruler and make some stitching passes. And then we will complete this border design and I will come back and show you what that looks like. Now I've mapped out some more of my triangles. I'm going to show you how to stitch using the vertical and the horizontal chalked lines as your reference. And then we're going to move on and I'm going to show you how I have actually mapped out for running your curved ruler on a 45-degree angle. So like I mentioned earlier in the video, I'm doing 1 inch width distance. So I would take my third scored line that's in the base of your ruler, along with my center dashed reference line, and line that up on that vertical chalked line and the edge of my triangle to know exactly where I need to put my needle down to start my first pass. So I'm going to bring my hopping foot up against the edge of my ruler and line up with my edge of my border, which probably would be your seam line, and put my needle down. And I'm just move over and bring up my threads. Take a few tacking stitches to secure that. Put my ruler back in place so that I have my foot running right up along the edge of that ruler base with my fingers in position. Just like with the straight line ruler, you want to use your index finger on your right finger grip, your ring finger on your left finger grip with your middle finger running in the center, thumb running up along the edge of that ruler just for added assurance that my ruler is going to stay right where it needs to be. and make your first pass. Ending right in my ditch. So let me take a few tack stitches and let me pull that thread up, lining my ruler back up with the edge of my ruler base right up on my hopping foot, my inch width increment line right over that line of stitching, fingers in position, right over to make my second pass. Now when I've completed all of my horizontal passes with my ruler, in order for me to begin going in the opposite direction, I'm going to line my ruler up with my center dashed line on my horizontal center line so that my radius is going to stay perfectly the same. My 1 inch width dimension incremental line on my ruler is going to be right at the corner of my triangle with my dashed right on my horizontal to make my first pass. And then I would continue on making all of my passes throughout the remainder of this triangle, and then go back and outline my triangles and then do my beadboard. Setting up your mapping for curved cross hatching running along a 45-degree angle as opposed to your horizontal and your vertical will give your curved cross hatching a completely different look than your horizontal and your vertical. How I set that up is I have my triangle chalked out, and from my bottom width of my triangle I'm going to chalk a line all the way around, making a box around my triangle. Then I will take my chalk wheel and do my 45s. This gives me the ability to run the center width dashed reference lines of my ruler along, lining it up along there with my 1 inch increment line and complete my stitch passes. And then I would go back and do the same thing, running along my 45 going in the opposite direction. So what I'm going to do is you complete your pass the same as I showed you previously, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to stitch these out, and then I will come back and show you what the finished design looks like. So now that I've finished my triangles, I just wanted to go back over and again showing you the differences in how your curved cross hatching will look with a vertical and a horizontal reference, and then also doing your curved cross hatching at your 45-degree angles will make such a difference in what that continuous curve and curved cross hatching looks like, depending on which angles that you are trying to follow for the pattern that you're trying to achieve. I just want to go over again really quickly, your center dashed reference line should always remain on your 45 or your vertical horizontal in order to keep that radius consistent throughout your stitch passes. And have fun quilting.